here. It is Friday, February 22nd, 2019. We're broadcasting live from the campus of Morehouse College from the Ray Charles Performing Arts Center. On today's show, it is going to be a packed show. First and foremost, R. Kelly indicted in Cook County as it relates to sexual interaction with several underage women. We'll show you the news conference from Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. Also, Jussie Smollett, he has been written out of the show Empire for the remainder of the season as a result of yesterday him being charged with a felony for filing a false police report. Also, news out of Florida. Billionaire New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft has been arrested as a part of a widespread prostitution and human sex trafficking sting there. More than 200 people have been charged. We'll give you all those details. And, of course, we also are live from here with our school choice is the Black Choice Town Hall. It's a packed show. Time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
Folks, huge news out of Chicago today. R. Kelly has been indicted on sex charges related to contact with 4 underage victims. Earlier today, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx made the announcement in Chicago. This is what she said in the news conference.
Earlier today, Robert Kelly was indicted before a Cook County grand jury on 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse involving 4 victims. The first victim, initials HW, was involved in incidents which occurred between May 26, 1998 and May 25, 1999. A grand jury returned an indictment on 4 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victim being under the age of 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than the victim. The second victim, initials RL, was involved in an incident which occurred between September 26, 1998 and September 25, 2001. A grand jury returned an indictment on 2 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victims being under the age of 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than that victim. The third victim, initials LC, was involved in an incident which occurred February 18, 2003. A grand jury returned an indictment on 1 count of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the transmission of semen by Robert Kelly upon any part of the body of the victim for the purpose of sexual gratification during the course of an underlying felony of attempt criminal sexual assault. The fourth victim, initials JP, was involved in incidents which occurred between May 1, 2009 and January 31, 2010. The grand jury returned an indictment on 3 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victim being under the age of 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than the victim. Aggravated criminal sexual abuse is a Class 2 felony with a sentencing range of 3 to 7 years per count. It is also probationable. We anticipate that Mr. Kelly will appear in bond court tomorrow afternoon. Thank you.
Folks, keep in mind, R. Kelly has been in the news over the last several months as a result of the Lifetime documentary that was done on him, where many women allege sex acts while underage. That aired record ratings on Lifetime. It was in 2008 when R. Kelly was found not guilty of being engaged in sex with an underage girl. The issue there was that, in that case, there was a video that was delivered to the Chicago Sun-Times in 2002 that showed R. Kelly having sex with what appeared to be an underage girl. Yet when they went to trial, the jury could not establish the age of the woman in that particular video. It was a few weeks ago when lawyer Michael Avenatti said he received a videotape of R. Kelly having sex with a 14-year-old. That tape was turned over to CNN, and as a result, what happened in that particular case, they watched it, and they said on that particular tape, the young woman on the tape and R. Kelly referenced her being 14 years old. I want to go to Scott Bolden, legal analyst for Roland Martin Unfiltered. Scott, glad to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Scott, we look back to the case that took place in 2008 where he was found not guilty. There was a 6-year gap. And again, the jury could not ascertain the age of the young girl. Sparkle, who was her aunt, testified that was indeed her and her age. Her brother testified that it wasn't her. In this case here, Scott, on this videotape, you actually hear R. Kelly and the young woman referencing her age and her genitalia. Your thoughts on this indictment?
Well, it's a lot different than 2008 for sure. You have 4 victims. You have 10 aggravated criminal abuse acts that go back over 20 years, some under 20 years. I think that this is different because you've got Avenatti, who's representing one or more of the families. This videotape is far more detailed. But these are tough cases. I'm a former sex crimes prosecutor from New York, and I got to tell you, memories fade, if you will. Look for a lot of briefings on the statute of limitations. Under Illinois law, the statute of limitations is 20 years, and it starts running from the time the young women turn 18 years old. Watch for that to be challenged, and then watch for the witnesses in this case. How long can they be held? How long can the state's attorney's office keep them interested without them being struggle between testifying against an R&B superstar or not? A lot to go on before we either get to trial or plea. A lot going on before you even get to a conviction here. He'll put up a significant defense because 7 years running concurrently is tantamount to 70 years, and he can't afford that. None of us can, for that matter.
Scott, in the previous case, it was 6 years between that videotape being turned over, him being indicted, and them going to trial. That was one of the criticisms of Cook County State's Attorney then, that it took 6 years for that to happen. I doubt very seriously Kim Foxx is going to allow 6 years to go by before there's a trial in the case of R. Kelly.
She'll try not to, but remember, he hasn't been convicted. He has his due process rights, and he's certainly innocent until proven guilty, no matter how we feel. This is going to be a heavily papered, heavily researched case, and there are going to be a lot of witnesses, and there's going to be a gag order probably, because there'll be pressure on the witnesses to say certain things to convict R. Kelly. There'll be certain pressure on witnesses to not say certain things, but then in the end, all the witnesses will be required to tell the truth. And so I hope it doesn't take 6 years, but he's going to have the best lawyers, and they are going to paper this case and defend him to the hilt. So it's going to take some time, but we can get there.
You also have a different situation now because the finances of R. Kelly have been greatly impacted. You have streaming services that are not playing his music, radio stations that have pulled his music as well. Folks, of course, in the United States are not wanting him to also have concerts. When you think back to the previous case, there were different stories. I was in Chicago at the time of him sending potential witnesses off to vacations for several months and years in other countries. You've also seen where Cook County has gone after his studio. He announced that because they said he can only do music between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., he's now looking for new music. And so his finances, he's in a different financial situation in 2019 than he was in 2008 as well.
Well, I think he's in a different financial situation, not because of what you said, but because there are other investigations going on, parallel investigations. The FBI is investigating them along with the Department of Treasury to see whether he's violated any finance laws through banks and checks and what have you. The Department of Homeland Security has a full-on investigation looking at whether he's guilty of children and sex trade trafficking of young women, which is really relevant, probative, and material. He could be charged at the federal level beyond this state level piece. So he's got to have a set of lawyers to fight that, because he's going to be fighting for his life. So he's going to need really good lawyers, and he's going to need money to pay them. Now, he may or may not have that. He's made a lot of money over the years. But as you may know or may not know, but I know, lawyers can cut up and cost a lot of money real quick in these type of high-profile matters.
Also, Scott, you have obviously very busy week there for Kim Foxx and her office, of course, with the Jussie Smollett case as well. When you look at this R. Kelly case, them indicting him with these 4 women, you also have the possibility that other women could come forward. It was Kim Foxx who put a call out after that Lifetime documentary for people to come forward if they had information regarding R. Kelly.
If there are other women, then those other women are going to come forward, which is a whole nother challenge. It's interesting that this is like the week of men behaving badly. You've got Jussie Smollett, you've got R. Kelly, you've got Robert Kraft. I mean, it's just a bad week for men acting like they have no sense. But that being the case, if there are other women, they will try to get them into the grand jury right away and continue to add those charges in order to force a plea agreement, if that's possible. If the evidence is so overwhelming, then his lawyers will certainly sit down and try to work out a deal.
Got it. Scott Bolden, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. I want to now go to Nikki Odele, who's the co-founder of the R. Mute Kelly movement. Nikki, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. First of all, this has to be, you have to be a great day for you. You and others have been calling for R. Kelly to be held into account for years of allegedly sexually assaulting, sleeping with, being engaged with underage women. When you heard about this indictment, what were your first thoughts?
My first thoughts were, it's about time. It's taken us 25 years to get to this point, unfortunately. It shouldn't have taken this long. None of this is new. This is not new information. This is not new acts. This is not, something that none of us have heard before. We've been knowing what he's been doing for the past 25 years. And hopefully, now that we're at this point, we're able to bring him to justice. So, my very first thought was, it's about damn time.
And also, okay, again, you have this videotape that Michael Avenatti discovered that was brought to the attention of the Cook County District Attorney's Office. She also made the call. The pressure also, the intensity that came from that documentary, that also is what opened the doors for a new investigation into R. Kelly.
Absolutely. It was the first time that people were able to see the width, the depth, the breadth of this man's depravity all in one place. And I think that turned the tide. When we started this 2 years ago, we got a lot of negative feedback from the community. But I think once the community got to see, the stories of those women and knowing that those aren't even the only women, there are many, many more who are not in that documentary. It really turned the tide, and people put pressure on the judicial system to do something about it. So it's unfortunate it took us this long, and it took a documentary when women have been crying out for 20 years for us to help them. But we're glad we're here, and hopefully, we can get to the finish line soon.
And when you talk about the issue of, as I asked Scott Bolden, the potential is there for more women to come forward as a result of this indictment today by the Cook County State's Attorney's Office.
Yeah, I think I saw an article earlier today that there were 2 additional women who've come forward who talked about being plied with drugs and alcohol when they were 17 and under at a concert. They were approached by R. Kelly's security team. And brought in, so I think there are a lot of receipts out here. Part of what Mute R. Kelly has been about is trying to create a climate where people feel supported in coming forward, because we know the evidence is out there. We know the victims are out there. And so, with this happening, it's going to be probably an avalanche. We know that there are a lot more videos out there, and there are a lot of people who have the receipts. And I think now they feel emboldened and courageous enough to come forward because they know that the community is going to support them in those actions. So we hope that they do.
All right, Nikki, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot. And again, certainly give our best wishes to the other women involved in the Mute R. Kelly movement. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, folks, going to a break right now. We'll be back on Roland Martin Unfiltered in just a moment. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. All right, folks, let's talk about one of our partners, the folks at D Herbs. And so, of course, the folks at D Herbs partner here with Roland Martin Unfiltered. 2019 is all about folks getting healthy and getting well. I participated in doing their full body cleanse over the course of 20 days, lost about 18 pounds. Many of you out there are looking to increase your energy, but also lose weight and also to live a much healthier life. The D Herbs full body cleanse is a way for you to do that. They have 27 different cleanses that you can take advantage of. I did the 20-day one. Previously had done the 10-day one. And so you can do any one of those. And again, it's about removing toxicity from your body, removing a lot of those processed foods, getting you to eat differently and to also think differently. And so on that 20-day cleanse, I was doing, of course, just vegetables as well as raw fruits and nuts as well. That's the only thing I could actually eat on that cleanse. And so it changes your view of food and how you eat. If you want to try the full body cleanse, do me a favor, go to dherbs.com, dherbs.com, and then you can use the promo code Roland in order to try one of their cleanses. And so again, you can also call this number 1-866-4-DHERBS, 1-866-4-DHERBS. Use the promo code Roland when you do the checkout to participate in taking advantage of the D Herbs full body cleanse. And so we certainly appreciate them being a partner here with Roland Martin Unfiltered. And so we want you to take advantage of that. All right, folks, let's talk about the next story, and that is Robert Kraft with the New England Patriots, billionaire. He was charged today, arrested for participating in prostitution in Jupiter, Florida, a major sex sting there, where more than 200 people have been charged. About 20 or 30 others have been arrested. And authorities there say there was a particular spa there where only men were seen going in, and where they were performing sex acts in that particular spa. The police said that no women were actually going into this spa, and that's also what caught their attention. They also set up a traffic sting as well. So men who were leaving that particular spa were pulled over, and a number of them admitted that they were engaging in sex acts. The NFL obviously is looking into this as well. Here you have the New England Patriots, who just won the Super Bowl. Robert Kraft, billionaire, single, and according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, if there are other people who are being charged and who will be arrested, bigger names than Robert Kraft. Not only is this a question of prostitution, this is also a matter of human sex trafficking. So it's a major investigation. And so thus far, we only know Robert Kraft being arrested. The question is, the NFL, you keep Colin Kaepernick out of the NFL, but here you have an NFL owner arrested in a prostitution, human sex trafficking scandal. You previously had Jim Irsay, of course, the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, who was busted for drugs, who was given a fine and a small suspension. But again, how does Colin Kaepernick, still out of the NFL for taking a knee to protest police brutality, and here you have an NFL owner of the Super Bowl winning New England Patriots, a buddy of Donald Trump, who now has been busted for prostitution. Donald Trump did comment today in a spray in the Oval Office, who said he was aware of the arrest, but also he was very quick to say Robert Kraft has proclaimed his innocence. So we'll certainly keep you abreast of that particular story. Now let's talk about Jussie Smollett. his particular case as well. And so of course, yesterday, he was charged with a felony when it came to filing a false police report. Now, the folks out of Fox have said that they have written him out of the final episodes of the show Empire as a result of this felony indictment. Let's go to Jolanda Jones. She's an attorney, a defense attorney out of Houston, Texas. Jolanda, have you good to be on the show as well. People, all the criticism continues. I mean, oh my God, the withering criticism, folks making fun, the jokes regarding Jussie Smollett last night on Inside the NBA. Charles Barkley was ripping him left and right, just totally making fun of him. And many people today still are very upset, folks who are gay and lesbian, folks who are African-American, because he said these were racist and homophobic attacks on him. Now we have him being written out of Empire. He has not been fired from the show, but he will not be in the final episodes. Your thoughts on all of this and what's next for Jussie Smollett?
So my thoughts as a criminal defense lawyer, as a black woman, and as a lesbian, I'm really disappointed, Roland, because there's enough actual homophobia and racism against black people that you don't have to make stuff up like that. And it was really positive for we LGBT people to see Jussie Smollett on Empire with a major role, helping people to understand that gay people are regular people too, especially in the black community. So for him to do this, if it's true, is really problematic. It's a felony, right? And he could be potentially charged with obstruction of justice if they found out that he was trying to influence witnesses or get people not to cooperate, or if he deleted things off of his phone, he could be charged with that. He could potentially be charged with a felony, with a federal case, which is mail fraud, which is where you have a scheme to fraud someone and you use the mail to do it. It sounds like that might be the case with the letter that he mailed to himself, if that's true. So I think he set us back. And whenever we make out, I also happen to be a survivor of domestic violence and rape and abuse. And so it's hard as victims to come out. And then I know that they're going to continue to use Jussie to minimize and marginalize people who already have problems with their voices being heard. So I'm extremely
Jolanda, John, I got to ask you this question here. So this was interesting. So yesterday, he returned to the set of Empire. He apologized, according to sources, he apologized to the staff, and he said, you guys know I would not do this. Tyler Perry posted this on his Instagram page where he said, I have personally spoken to Jussie, and he is adamant that he's telling the truth. Also, everyone that I know who knows him says that he is not the kind of person who would make up such a horrible and awful thing. Yet the evidence seems to state otherwise. I'm lost for words. To stoke fears and raise racial tensions is wrong in every situation on all sides. Yet my prayers are still with him and his family and our nation. Can we please stop the hate? I read that proffer, and they from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, and it is in extreme detail where they talk about conversations, dates, times, phone calls made, length of the phone call as well. So what do you make of, again, him granted innocent to proven guilty, but when you look at that proffer, then you hear him still saying, I didn't do it. What do you think?
Well, I think as a criminal defense lawyer, people think that they've covered their tracks. So I can delete things off of my phone, but if I call someone else, they'll have a record that they called me, right? So I don't have it, but they have it. If I paid with a check, which I heard that he paid with a check, that's easily verifiable. The thing about phones is people don't realize that they're geolocating on the phones. So I can tell where the phone call was made within the cell phone tower. So the evidence is going to be what the evidence is. I think that if Jussie did it, first of all, I think he needs to stop talking. It sounds like he might have a drug problem, potentially an alcohol problem, so he needs to go into treatment. And also, he had prior misdemeanors in 2007, if I remember correctly. And the only thing that's relevant about those, one, is they can use your prior criminal history against you. But he had a DUI, which shows that he was under the influence. But the thing that troubled me the most, and that's going to go directly to his credibility, is that when he was stopped for DUI, he was charged with giving a false name, specifically his brother's name. So he got charged with that as well. So his credibility is going to be a big issue. And if he gets on the stand and says, I'm honest, believe me, I'm a good person, then cross-examination allows you to bring in things to impeach you. So if I say X and there's evidence out there to show Y that contradicts it, it's going to come in. So I think he needs to just be quiet, let his lawyers do the talking, and he needs to tell them everything that really happened so they can give him the best defense possible. But at the end of the day, I don't think that we're the worst thing that we've ever done. And so I hope if he did do this, that he can, be reborn. He will have learned his lesson. He will have dealt with his demons. And, I'm just really disappointed as a Black woman, lesbian, activist, survivor of rape and domestic violence, that people should not use these tragedies because it hurts us. It's already hard for people to believe us. They don't want to believe it happened. And he set us back. I don't care what anybody says if what they say is true. So I just think he needs to start making amends if, in fact, he has done something. But he needs to talk to his lawyers. He needs to get treatment. And he needs to stop using victims to help himself.
All right. Yolanda Jones, the defense attorney out of Houston. We surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thanks, Roland.
All right, folks, let's go to a break. We'll be back on Roland Martin Unfiltered in just a moment. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. All right, folks, a word for another one of our partners, Bishop T.D. Jakes. The International Pastors and Leadership Conference is where thousands of entrepreneurs, and leaders will unite from April 25th through 27th, 2019 in Tampa Bay, Florida. Now, over the span of 3 days, you will glean deep insights on how to catalyze the greatest impact on your enterprise at this highly anticipated leadership conference. Now, whether you're a CEO or an attorney, get ready to elevate your effort to impact people, processes, workflow, investments, marketing and advertising, communication, and more. The International Pastors and Leaders Conference will equip you to make a positive impact in today's cross-generational environments. Bishop T.D. Jakes, of course, the founder and visionary of the International Pastors and Leadership Conference, will lead this year's leadership conference. Joining him is going to be a phenomenal team of industry thought leaders, speakers, and entrepreneurs who are called to change the world. And trust me, you should be there, and we will be there at the Tampa Convention Center, April 25th through 27th, 2019. Now, inspired by Bishop T.D. Jakes' book, Soar, Build Your Vision from the Ground Up, a New York Times bestseller, the International Pastors and Leadership Conference will expand upon leadership and entrepreneurship strategies. Among other themes, speakers will include Bishop T.D. Jakes, Corey Anthony, Pastor Teray Roberts, Pastor Craig Groeschel, Robert Brown, Bishop Dr. Pat McKinstry, Cynthia Marshall, Bishop Walter Thomas, Brett Fisher, Dr. Anita Phillips, Pastor Miles McPherson, Bishop Noel Jones, Reverend Tony Lee, Dr. Antipas Harris, Marquise Boone. Now, this is how you can register. Go online at pastorsandleaders.org, pastorsandleaders.org. You can also text PL now to 28950. You can also call 1-800-BISHOP-2, 1-800-BISHOP-2, and we certainly thank Bishop Jakes for being a partner with us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. All right, folks. We got some breaking news here. Remember Lisa Borders, a former president of the WNBA who left to become the CEO of the Time's Up movement out of Los Angeles. Well, earlier this week, we told you that she resigned from her position. In her announcement, she said she was resigning, quote, to address family concerns that require my singular focus. Well, the Los Angeles Times is reporting that the reason she is resigning is because her son is facing allegations of sexual misconduct. According to the Los Angeles Times, and I'm reading here from the LA Times, Borders stepped down 4 days after a 31-year-old Santa Monica woman alleged in a Facebook post that Borders' 36-year-old son had been sexually inappropriate with her. People familiar with the situation who were not authorized to comment said Borders quickly brought the allegations to the attention of the Time's Up board. The group and Borders, those people said, soon recognized that she was in an untenable position. Celia Gellert told the Times that Borders' son, a photographer, podcast host, and life coach named Gary Dijon Boughton Jr., offered her, quote, a healing session. She said she was surprised and felt violated when she alleged he touched her genitalia, kissed her neck, and brushed his erect but clothed penis against her body during the session. Again, according to the attorney for Lisa Borders' son, quote, my client vehemently denies that any appropriate or non-consensual touching occurred at any time. That is attorney Alan Jackson. And so Lisa Borders, of course, who became the CEO just several months ago of the Time's Up movement, resigned this week. The Los Angeles Times is now reporting that was a result of sexual misconduct allegations alleged against her son. We'll certainly provide you more details as these develop. All right, folks, we're here in Atlanta, of course, for our second School Choice is a Black Choice Town Hall partnership with the 74. We travel all across the country in the last couple of years. My wife and I launched this movement. We've held similar events like this in Selma, Alabama, Birmingham, Montgomery. We also have worked with others in Charleston, South Carolina, in Atlanta, Nashville, Memphis, Chicago, you name it. Our focus is the whole issue of school choice, it being the black choice, and that is getting African Americans not just to have the facts when it comes to charters, but more importantly for us to own and control our own charter schools. And so over the next couple of hours, we're going to have this town hall here in the Ray Charles Theater on the campus of Morehouse College with a great panel of experts talking about these various issues and how important they are. And so this is about the education of our children. Now, we're going to be live streaming this event as well, so you can see it right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. And so we're about to, end this broadcast. Normally, of course, we go live at 6 p.m., but because this event was supposed to start at 6, that's why we started our show 30 minutes early, especially with today's breaking news regarding the indictment of R. Kelly, regarding the arrest of Patriots owner Robert Kraft, the update on Jussie Smollett, and, of course, the breaking news on Lisa Borders. And so we look forward to, again, having a great conversation because this is going to be a 2-hour event, and so we want you to participate. Want to hear your comments. I'll also be taking questions from social media, so those of you who will be watching on YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook, we'll be taking your questions as well. And so we certainly appreciate all of you who have watched this live stream broadcast, this truncated broadcast, and also want to thank Orenecki, who was with Mute R. Kelly, Jelana Jones, attorney out of Houston, Scott Bolden as well, an attorney out of Washington, D.C. on today's show. On Monday's show, we'll have more details. Oh, and last thing here, today in that spray with Donald Trump, he was asked about Christopher Hassan, the Coast Guard lieutenant who was arrested for basically wanting to kill politicians and journalists. And the White House said, of course, Donald Trump deplores any attacks on politicians and journalists. But again, folks are saying he also is contributing to this climate with his language and his words. And so expect us to have more details for you guys on Monday as we cover many of these stories and others. Thanks a bunch for all of us here at the Ray Charles Performing Arts Center on the campus of Morehouse. Thank you very much for watching. And then we'll come back in just a few moments with our live stream of School Choice at the Black Choice Town Hall right here from Atlanta. Okay, guys, I'll see you in a bit.
You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered, the blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.